trying to manage a Zoom meeting with your mouse and a keyboard? That is so 2020. Hey guys, David Paskin here, Torah Tech Guy, here to share with you some great Torah for your great tech, whatever. It's great. Hey Tony, good to see you here. And the rest of you who are watching live or on replay, I want to share with you a new love, a new companion, if you will, that I have found. Okay, you're running a service or a class or a whatever in Zoom. And you want to be able to spotlight different people. You want to be able to mute all. You want to be able to bring people in from the waiting room. You want to open breakout rooms. You want to do all these different things. You want to know who's speaking quickly, easily, even if you have lots and lots of people on that grid. It's very, very difficult. It can be very, very difficult to manage a Zoom meeting using your mouse and your keyboard. Having to go into the participants panel and click on the More button and Spotlight and Unspotlight and Add Spotlight. It really can be overwhelming, but there are two tools out there that work in union, in conversation with one another, that really take managing your Zoom meetings and really producing your Zoom meetings to the next level. And I want to introduce them to you today. The first is called Zoom OSC. Now, I've talked about Zoom ISO quite a bit. These are companion apps, if you will. Zoom ISO they are both now owned by Zoom. They're developed by Liminal. Zoom ISO allows you to grab the individual feeds from Zoom, the video feeds and audio, and take it out of Zoom and then put it into a production system like Ecamm or OBS or vMix or Mimo Live or any of those. Zoom OSC is a listening tool. And what I mean by listening is it joins the meeting and it listens. It listens for who's talking, where is everybody, what's happening, what do you need it to do? And then because it's listening to the whole meeting, you could take that data and act upon it using another app that works in companionship with it called Companion. And this is really the app I wanted to talk about today. Zoom OSC, for those of you who are interested, it really is just, it's a Zoom client. So you could just use this instead of Zoom. It is not free. Actually, I take that back. There are two versions. There's a free version. No, I don't want to download. I want to look at the pricing. I clicked on the wrong button. Let's see, view pricing. There it is. So you can grab Zoom OSC for free, the Essentials plan. And with Zoom Essentials, you can do almost everything that I'm going to show you, but not entirely everything. There's a couple things that are missing, and the most important thing for me that is missing from the Essentials plan is multi-spotlight. And I'll show you what that looks like in just a moment. The Pro plan is $19 a month. If you have Zoom ISO, Standard, you get Essentials for free, which you get for free anyway. If you have Zoom ISO Pro, you get the Zoom OSC Pro for free. That's built into Zoom ISO. I'm now just going to be using Zoom OSC to show you how all this works. So you've entered a meeting with Zoom OSC, either as your main Zoom client or as on some other computer, you just have it joined. Then, using Companion and a Stream Deck, the real magic happens. Companion is free and open source. If you don't know what a Stream Deck is, I've done some other videos on Stream Decks. They're incredibly powerful tools. And Stream Decks come with their own built-in software that allows you to do a lot of actions. But for the actions we're going to talk about today, for integration, really tight integration with Zoom, and particularly with Zoom OSC that can listen to everything that's happening in the meeting, you can't do that on the generic Stream Deck app. You need to use Companion. So once you download Companion, it just sits up here in your menu bar. You can open it up, and when you open it up, it'll bring up an interface, a web interface that looks something like this. One thing I should say before I go any further is that you can't use Companion on your Stream Deck and the native Stream Deck software at the same time. There are ways to combine the two, but you can't have both open at the same time on your computer. Okay, so let me talk first about the buttons at the top here. So connections, every time you want to use Companion as an interface for any other program, like in this case, Zoom OSC, you need to set up a connection. So if you come over to Add Connection and you just search for OSC, you'll find a few here. Zoom OSC ISO is the one that we want. I've got that right there. And you can see I already have that installed or connected, right? And you can see that the status is good. There's a little bit of configuration you have to do when you're doing this, but honestly, most of it is done for you. The next thing you have across the top are buttons. We'll come back to that in a moment. Surfaces are how are you going to use Companion? How are you going to trigger all these different things that you want it to do? There is an emulator that's built in, which you can see right over here, and you can actually emulate this right on the web, so you really don't need any hardware. You could just control this all right from this interface. There's also web buttons so that you could, grab a URL, an address, and then control it from an iPad by putting that address in. But you can also see under what are my connected surfaces is I also have my Stream Deck. So I have a Stream Deck that's plugged in, connected, and ready to go. Up at the top are triggers. Triggers are when something happens, when a condition becomes true, take this action. That's what a trigger is. And so I have one that is not active right now that says, when the active speaker changes, I want you to do X, Y, or Z, right? Settings, these are just some random not random, they're probably very important. I don't understand most of them, but some settings that you'll want to set up. Import, export, oh, is this page important? Export, 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 export. Always export what you create in Companion so that creates a backup for you. I do this at least 3, 4, every time I make a change, I export it just so I have a backup of it. And then there's a log of errors or information and configuration information, things like that. Okay, so you've got Zoom OSC in a meeting, which I have right now. You've got Companion downloaded on your computer, and you've got a Stream Deck. So let's start to put these 3 items together and make some buttons. All right, I could just start with a regular button. This is not the easy way to do it. If I click on regular button, it's going to bring up some fields that I can now fill in. What do I want the text on the button to say? So if I type in the word text, you'll see it populates right there on the button. You can put any text in here that you want. You could change the font size. You could upload a custom image if you have one. You can change the text alignment if you have an image where you want that image to be aligned. You have a bunch of the background color. You can change all of this to make it look exactly how you want it to look. But then there are actions. Ooh, I forgot to mention. The interface that you're looking at right now is the 3.0 interface for Companion, which is in beta. Their current release, I think, is 2.4.2. That's the stable release. This is the beta release. So far, so good, but it is beta. So, and the functionality is very much the same, but the UI, the way that you interact with it, looks quite different, actually. So, press actions. So what do I want this button that I have text on to do when I press it? Well, I can browse through a whole bunch of different actions. There are internal actions, meaning these are things that are built into Companion. So set background color, jump to a different page, lots of different things. Use variables, right, that we talked about before. But the other thing is, remember I made a connection before to Zoom OSC. So I have here all of these unique and special actions that work exclusively with Zoom OSC. Add spotlight, allow to speak, allow to record, assign participant to breakout room, chat via DM. All of these things, if I press this button and I configure the button correctly, it will be able to do any of these. So let's build a button here. Let's do, I'll tell you what, let's actually search and let's do mute. Let's just do something simple. Let's say I want to mute all. Okay, mute all. I'm going to click add and done. So now I have a button that says text. Let me change it so that it says mute all. And when I press that button, the action that it's going to take is mute all. That is a basic button, right? And you can build this out for however you want. But let's do something a little different. Let's say I want to mute a particular person. For that, I'm going to want to build, well, I'll build one button. Let's say you know everybody's name, all right? So we'll call this mute David. I'm going to go ahead and add an action. Oh, there's mute. I'll go ahead and type in mute, and it comes up. It's the first option, mute. And now I have another option here that says username. Now, it also says keep blank when you pre-select. We'll get to that in a moment. But I know that my username, whenever I join a Zoom meeting, is David Paskin. So I'm going to click that. And now if I were to press this button and click it, it would mute me. It would mute the participant who joins the meeting named David Paskin. So even if I set this is in Zoom OSC, I have this on one computer, and I join the meeting from another computer, and my username on that computer, meaning my Zoom name, is David Paskin, it will mute me, David Paskin. Okay. Now, what if I don't actually know all the names of the people who are going to be in the meeting with me, but I want to be able to mute any one of them? Well, that's when these presets become really handy. These are the presets, you can see here, Zoom OSC ISO, that are built again specifically for Zoom OSC and ISO. So if I click that, I have a whole bunch of different options here. Select from participants, select from gallery, manage selection, video, audio actions. So I'm going to select from participants. Now again, I'm currently in a meeting right now. And so the first thing you can see is, in addition to all these buttons, it goes all the way down to, I don't know, what does it go to? 999. So if you have a meeting with 999 people in it, you could hypothetically have one button for each of those people. But you can see that because I'm currently logged into a meeting, it's actually showing me who is in this meeting. I can see their names. So I'm going to go ahead and drag a couple of these people over. So now I've got 4 people that from my meeting that are here. And you can see that some of the colors have changed. We'll talk about that in a moment. Now I'm going to go back here to my Mute David button, and I'm going to delete the username. Keep blank when you pre-select, and also change the name to just mute. Now what happens is, if I press one of these folks, and then I press mute, it's going to mute them. Pretty cool. Let's take a look at these buttons in a little more detail. So you can see that the button text string up here, this is actually a variable. This variable is saying, don't put other text here, don't put an image here, put on this button the name of participant in position 002. Not position. The participant in a list of all the participants in this meeting that is in position 002. So this is not relative to your gallery view. This is relative to a list view. You could also build buttons, and I'll show you in a moment, that are relative to gallery view, where folks are in your gallery. So it's going to put their name in there. And then you can see down here that what happens when I press this button is it selects this user. Pre-select because you press the name of the person, you press their button before you take action on them. So if I press, let me see if I can actually get to this page. How would I get to this page on here? I'm going to have to add real quick. I'm going to add a button real quick because I want to be able to actually press the button and show you. Let's do, I'm going to add a button, and I'm going to say We're going to say go to page. Whoops. Page. And I'm going to set this to this page. You have, by the way, tons of pages. I think 99 pages in here. So this is page 7. Whoops, not 78, 7. All right. So now if I press this button on my Stream Deck, which I will do right now, it's going to take me to this page. So now if I press one of these folks, you'll see they turn yellow. So let me highlight him again. And now if I were to press mute, it would mute him. So what happens is it has the name of the participant here. It tells me who I'm going to be taking this action on. And the action right now is just to select them, just pre-select. And if I were to press it again, oh, it actually doesn't go off. That's interesting. Let me change this to remove. Now it'll remove it. The toggle doesn't seem to be working, which is interesting. In any case. All right, but there are a few other things going on here because you see some of these are, this one's white, this one's yellow, this one's red. So another really powerful aspect of Companion is that, and Zoom OSC, is that it's giving you feedback in real time about your participants. So for this button right here, number 2, if I go into feedbacks, there are a whole bunch of things going on here. So let's take a look. First of all, participant index-based feedback. So again, this is coming from just a list of participants. Position 2, what kind of feedback am I getting here? Is their mic live? Are they unmuted? The color of the text will be black and their background will be red. So you can see immediately who is unmuted. Greg is also unmuted here. You can see there's a red border around. I should really uncheck him. Let me uncheck him so that that's a little easier to see. And okay, there we go. So going back into feedback, red means their mic is live with black text on it. Position 2, hand raised is the feedback here. If their hand is raised, you'll see a little hand icon on their button, which is really handy. Are they the active speaker? Well, if they're the active speaker, then their background color is going to change to blue. I'll be able to show all of this to you in a moment. And if they're selected, their background color is going to change to yellow. So when I press this participant and it changes to yellow, that means, oh, see, I messed up the button again. Hold on. I have to go back because I'm trying to show you all of this. There we go. So now when I press it, it turns yellow. That tells me, it's a visual cue, you have that person selected. Any actions that you now press is going to happen to that person. You can build multiple actions into a button. So you can press one button and have 3 or 4 things happen. Let me show you what that looks like. All right, we're going to go down to, no, let's go to this page. All right. So this is, actually, let's not. I'm going to go back to the beginning. All right. So this is a page that I have built here in Companion that I use. You can see in the top left here, I've just got what page I'm on, list, and I didn't have to do anything for this page. I just created I just said, tell me the name of this page number, and I've named this page list. So it's just going to put the name there. And then I've got a whole bunch of participants. This is the same meeting, by the way, that I was in before. So you can see there I am, David Paskin, and a whole bunch of other participants. And you can see that Greg is now selected. If I want to unselect him, I can clear that selection and he turns red again. So that means his mic is live like all these other people. And you can see that green bopping around. So on the other page I showed you, it said blue meant active speaker. I like green. I don't like green. It's not like that I'm partial to green over blue, but for me, it's easier on my eyes. And so I have it set up so that whoever's the active speaker, they turn green. And that way I know immediately. The white ones, like mine, for example, means the camera isn't on. So that person's camera isn't on. I'm not even connected to audio in this meeting. So if I were to press one of these, so I'm going to go ahead and press, who am I going to press? Let's press this one. They turn yellow. And then I can do a number of actions. I've got a button here that will put them on stage, which essentially means spotlight them. I have a button that takes them off stage that will unspotlight them. I have a button that does full spotlight, which essentially means they will be the only ones spotlighted. We'll go back to that in just a moment. Clear spotlight, so if someone is spotlighted or if people are spotlighted, you press this button, everyone gets cleared off. I can mute them, I can lower their hand, I can clear all my selections. I can also add them to groups. We'll get to that in a moment. So I press one button to choose the person, and then I press one button to execute the action. Now, I mentioned before one big difference between the Pro version of OSC and the Essentials version, and that is multi-spotlighting. So this on-stage button that I use over here, this allows me to add people to the stage. So let's say it's your rabbi and your cantor, or you're teaching and you're having a conversation with one of the students, and you and the student, you want both of you to be spotlit. In order to do that, what you would want to do is spotlight one person, yourself maybe, then choose another person and click on for what for me is an on-stage button. It really adds spotlight. Then you'll get a 2-up. You'll have those two people side by side. If I were to press a different person and then press full spot, that would make them take over the whole screen. Everyone else would not be spotlit and they would just be spotlit. It's unbelievably powerful. I can also shift between, do I want to be able to choose just one person at a time or multi? Do I want to be able to choose multiple people at a time? I can now choose 3 people and put them all on stage at the same time. Let me clear my selections. So I can, from this page alone, see the 15 people that are in my meeting. By the way, down here, the next button and the previous button, these will scroll through the gallery participants or the list participants. So I can now see the names of the people who are in my meeting. I can see who has their mic turned on. I can see who's the active speaker. I can see whose hands are raised. I can see who has their video on. I can see all of this just by looking at their button and the color or the icon that's on their button. And then by choosing them, by pressing that button, I can then take actions on them by adding them on stage, by muting them, by lowering their hand. But here's where it really gets powerful. Let's dive into this on-stage button, okay? I've got a whole bunch of actions going on this on-stage button. So let me show you what's going on there. Where is my, oh, I have to go over here, sorry. There it is. All right. Here's my on-stage button. So you can see I don't have any text in the button text string. That's because I made this icon to go there. But I've got 5 different things that happen when I press that button. The first thing that happens is it lowers their hand. If they have their hand up, the first thing this is going to do is lower their hand. In my workflow, I'm usually teaching and people will put their hand up. Well, I don't want their hand sticking up there. I want their hand to go down. So the first thing it does, it's going to lower their hand. I keep the username blank because remember, I'm selecting them on my Stream Deck. I'm clicking on their button and then I just leave this blank and it will know to take these actions on that person. So first, it lowers their hand. Second, it unmutes them. Third, it spotlights them. Fourth, it sets gallery view. What that means, it sets my Zoom machine, my Zoom OSC machine, back to gallery view. This stuff only works when you're in gallery view. So you need to make sure that as a part of your workflow that you're always keeping that in gallery view. And the last thing it does is clear participants. So remember, I had selected that person or those people before, and now I'm taking all these actions on it. Once I've taken the actions, I want you to deselect them, and I'll move on to something else. All of these things happen with 100 millisecond delay in between them so that things don't get piled on top of each other. Just a split second, not even, a tenth of a second, a hundredth of a second in between. All those things happen at the same time. It's unbelievable. You press the name of a person, you press the action, let me get back to this page, You click on the name of a person. I'm not going to do it now because I don't want to ruin this meeting. But you press the name of a person. You press one button, the on-stage button, and those 5 things will all happen. Their hand will be lowered. By the way, if their hand wasn't up, it won't do anything. Their hand will be lowered. They will be unmuted. They'll be spotlit. You will be set back to gallery view, and they will be unselected. So you can move on to the next person. Unbelievable. Now let's take this one step farther. I did not mean for this to be a whole tutorial, so I apologize. But let's take this one step farther. And you all should know, watching this, I am at the lowest rung of understanding how to use this. I mean, the most basic use cases is how I use it. Let's talk about groups. So when you use Zoom OSC and Companion, you have access to, it used to be 2 groups, but now it's kind of 3 groups. One group will be created for you. You don't have to do anything. And that group is hosts. You will have a group of all of your hosts and co-hosts. So I now will have a page here with, in this particular meeting that I'm in, there are no hosts or co-hosts. I know that sounds odd, just take my word for it. But you would see the names of your hosts and co-hosts, and just like with every other page, if they're the active speaker, if they are, if they're unmuted, you'll see all of that feedback. I can, on this one page, press the select host button. It will select all of those hosts or co-hosts. I can now throw them up on stage, mute them, off stage, lower hand. I can do any of those actions. For hosts and co-hosts, not sure how much I would actually use this. But in the other 2 groups that you can create, I could, for example, choose, I'm going to choose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 people, and then I'm going to press add to group 1. Now that I've added them to group 1, what that did, and it didn't happen automatically on the emulator, but it did happen automatically on my computer, on my Stream Deck, is it took all 4 or 5 of those people, it added them to group 1, and I have a dedicated group page here that I built. It changed my Stream Deck to that page, and now I can select group 1, which is all these people, and I can put them on stage. So let's say you're doing a panel discussion for your church, for your synagogue, and you have 3 speakers, and you're just in a regular old Zoom meeting. Take those 3 speakers, put them in a group, and then you can take actions on them as a group. In fact, you could, even if you don't want to take actions on them as a group, you could just live on a page with just those 3 people so that you could mute one or spotlight another. You don't have to take actions on all of them. And then when you're done, maybe you're moving on and you have a second panel, you press the clear group. They all disappear from the group. They're still in the meeting. They're still all right here. Whoops, wrong page. They're still all right here. But you took them out of that group, and now you can add new people to that group. 1, 2, let me clear my selections first. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to add them to, I'll do group 2. And now again, it added them to group 2, and it immediately moved me to that group. And now I can take the actions on this group here. I mean, it's fantastic. It really is. If you are dealing with large meetings and you really want to make it both produced better and easier on yourself, it really is a no-brainer. I was consulting with the synagogue earlier today, and I told them that, when I'm in a Zoom meeting, I'm using Ecamm, Keynote, Zoom, I don't know, like a gazillion other things. I literally almost never touch my computer. I control everything with just the press of a button. Now, again, Stream Deck has its own software. It's fantastic. For certain tasks, it's fantastic. I use the Stream Deck native software to control Ecamm because their plugin for the native software is really robust. And they don't have a plugin in Companion. But specifically for controlling Zoom meetings, for building buttons that can take multiple actions and do them almost instantaneously. That allows you to see the names of participants who are in your meeting and just press a button and spotlight, or press a button and mute. Any of that is just so powerful. The last thing I wanted to show you was, these are my meeting actions. So I set up a few different buttons here. This first one is join. So this is for my own meeting. So I created a button so that with one button press, I put in the meeting ID, I put in what I want the name to be of this client when it joins. If I start a meeting on a different computer and I press this button, it will join that meeting immediately. I have other meetings that I often join. I just press a button and it joins. Down here, I've got make co-host. So if I were the host of a meeting, I could make someone co-host or revoke co-host. I usually don't make the Zoom OSC the host. I usually just make it co-host, and it works with all this stuff, but you could. Do I want to allow people to unmute? Do I want to disable that ability? Do I want to leave the meeting? There's a button for that. Do I want to start a local recording or stop a local recording, start a cloud recording, stop a cloud recording? Do I want to allow other people to record? I can do that here also. If I have a waiting room and I want to open that waiting room and admit everyone in, I have a button that will not persistently open the waiting room, but allow the people who are currently in the waiting room to come in. And of course, I have an eject button. Right? If someone is getting unruly, I press on their button, their name, I come here, I press eject, and they're out of the meeting. There are also breakout room buttons. I can open breakout rooms that I've set up in Zoom, and I can close breakout rooms from here. The last thing that I have, and this isn't working yet, but it will be working, is this button right here. And this, I have a feeling this is going to be my favorite button. This button dynamically changes to show me who is the active speaker. Whoever's making the most noise. That works. The part that doesn't work is being able to take actions on that person from this button. That's going to be fixed very soon, I'm sure. But down the road, what I'm going to be able to do is have this button on every page. And if for whatever reason I have a bad actor in the meeting, I'll see them because they'll be making noise. I'll see them, I press that, it will select that person, and then I hit eject. Or for something that's a good thing, right? If someone is speaking and maybe I have lots of people in my meeting and I can't find them for whatever reason, they will show up right on this button of, current speaker. I press the button, it'll select them, and then I spotlight them. Guys, I'm telling you, I was terrified by this when I first started playing around with it. Now I can't get enough of it. It is so much fun to learn how to use this tool and how to build out pages and buttons that will work for me, that will work for my workflow. I can't tell you how many iterations of this I've gone through. I think I feel pretty good about where I am now. I'm sure this will change some more. But really, it's just so powerful. And the guys who are working on this are brilliant and talented and wonderful. It's just fantastic. Hey, Josh, good to see you. Yeah, multifunctions and companions, fantastic. Absolutely. And Mom, how do I remember all these wonderful possibilities? To be honest with you, specifically here, it's because I'll be in a meeting and I'll want to do something and I can't do it. Or I'll think of how I might want to do something, by multi-selecting or single selecting or whatever, and I can't do it. And then I'll come in here and I'll figure out, okay, what's the button? What's the preset? Most of this work, just as a reminder, most of this work is done for us in these presets. It's all right here. This is not me doing anything fancy. This is me finding what I want to do. Do I want to spotlight someone? Oh, there's the spotlight button. I literally just drag that in. Now, by pressing that button, I can spotlight someone. They have done so much of the work for us and made it so easy. As scared as I was, I didn't have to be. If you are running a lot of Zoom meetings, if you want to get away from having to use your mouse and your keyboard, I want to encourage you to play around with Companion. You will need Zoom OSC, but you can get both for free, at least to play with. You can get both for free. And then I would absolutely suggest getting the pro version of Zoom OSC and contributing to Companion for all the amazing work that they do. I was not expected to talk quite as much about Companion as I did, but it just changes the way I'm in my Zoom meetings. It really does. It's transformed. It allows me to be more present. That's the key. That's what it's about. I need, for all the technology that I use, I want it out of the way. When I'm in a meeting, when I'm presenting, when I'm facilitating, when I'm producing, whatever, I want the technology out of the way. I want things to just work so that I can be present in whatever's happening. And these tools allow me to be present. They allow me to see who's there, see the actions I can take, press to select, press to act. Done. It's just fantastic, folks. You can learn more about BitFocus Companion at bitfocus.io. Bitfocus.io. To learn more about Zoom OSC at liminalet, liminalet.com. Liminalet.com. And you can learn more about me and what I'm doing over at TorahTechGuy.com. That's what I got for you, friends. That was fun. Oh my gosh, I love building buttons so much. All right, have the fantastic day, everybody. See you soon. Bye.